The Doom of Valyria killed more people in a single night than every war in Westeros combined. 14 supervolcanoes erupting simultaneously, every dragon falling from the sky, an entire continent swallowed before dawn. For 400 years, the world has called it a natural disaster. It wasn't. It was a hit job. The largest, most perfectly coordinated assassination in the history of fiction. And it was carried out by slaves who knew they would die in the blast. That's not terrorism. That's a religion. And George R.R. Martin told us exactly who did it, exactly how they did it, and exactly who paid for it. He just scattered the receipts across 5 books and dared us to put them together. The origin story comes from a single conversation in A Feast for Crows, chapter 34. Arya is standing inside the House of Black and White, and the kindly man tells her how the Faceless Men began. He says the slaves in the Valyrian mines were not crying out to 100 different gods. They were crying out to one god, with 100 different faces. And the first Faceless Man was that god's instrument. Think about what Martin is telling us here. A slave in a volcanic mine. The air so hot it seared his lungs. The rocks too hot to touch. And he heard every prayer in that darkness, 1,000 languages, 1,000 gods, and recognized them as one voice asking for one thing: death. Not as punishment, as mercy. And he granted it. That's not an assassin, that's a priest. But here's where it turns. Arya asks the obvious question. If the first Faceless Man was killing slaves out of mercy, when did the masters start dying? The kindly man doesn't deny it. He says the gift was brought to them too. And then, still in chapter 34, he drops 6 words that should terrify you. He tells Arya, "That is a tale best shared with no one." He's not saying it didn't happen. He's saying it's too dangerous to say out loud, even inside the most secretive institution on the planet. In intelligence terminology, that's called a classification ceiling. The information exists, the confirmation exists, but the operational details are rated above your clearance level. Arya isn't being denied the story, she's being told she hasn't earned it yet. So how do you destroy an empire without an army? Piece 1. Valyria didn't sit on 14 active volcanoes by accident. They controlled them. Blood sorcerers and fire mages maintained constant arcane spells, fueled by mass sacrifice, that kept those calderas from detonating. Think of it as nuclear containment. Remove the cooling rods and physics does the rest. Piece 2. The Faceless Men didn't need to light a match. They needed to kill every hand holding the lid down, at the same time, across the entire freehold. That's not assassination. In military doctrine, that's called a decapitation strike, eliminating every node of a command structure simultaneously so the system collapses before it can respond. Piece 3. And this is the part that separates the Faceless Men from every other organization in fiction. There was no extraction plan. When 14 supervolcanoes erupt simultaneously, nobody walks away. The operatives who pulled this off knew they were dead the moment the last mage hit the floor. That's not fanaticism. That's faith. The many-faced God doesn't promise paradise. He promises nothing. And they served him anyway. But a mission this size costs money. World-ending money. And this is where Martin does what Martin does best. He hides the receipt in plain sight. In A Game of Thrones, chapter 33, the small council is debating whether to hire a Faceless Man to kill Daenerys. And Littlefinger shuts the idea down with one line. He says, "Do you have any idea how costly they are? You could hire an army of common sellswords for half the price. And that's for a merchant." For a merchant. Now imagine the price tag on 14 fire mages guarding a continent. The Valyrian sorcerers had a prophecy, and this comes from the World of Ice and Fire, the Valyria chapter. Gold from Casterly Rock would destroy their civilization. Because of this, the dragonlords refused to trade with the Lannisters for centuries. Until one family, one greedy, short-sighted Valyrian house, ignored the prophecy and sold the Lannisters a Valyrian steel greatsword called Brightroar, for a sum so obscene it could have raised an army. Where did that mountain of gold actually go? Martin has confirmed the Faceless Men charge proportionally. The more dangerous the target, the higher the price. And there is no bigger target than destroy an empire. That contract would cost exactly the kind of money that buys a Valyrian steel sword. And here's Martin's cruelest trick, the self-fulfilling prophecy. The Valyrians feared Lannister gold so intensely that they turned it into legend, and when it finally arrived, it had become the rarest, most coveted currency on the continent. The exact capital needed to hire the only people capable of fulfilling the prophecy the Valyrians spent centuries trying to prevent. They didn't dodge fate, they funded it. If that just connected two things you never thought belonged in the same sentence, Lannister gold and the end of the world, that's exactly the moment people hit like. Not because I asked, but because something shifted. Hi, I'm Nick, you're watching Cyniac Cults, and we're just getting started. Now, fast forward 400 years. Daenerys Targaryen has hatched 3 dragons. Magic is flooding back into the world. And somewhere in Oldtown, a man who can change his face has just murdered a novice named Pate, stolen a skeleton key that opens every locked door in the Citadel, and embedded himself next to the one maester who actually believes in magic. That man is Jaqen H'ghar, and he is not there to study. Watch Tom Lashiha's performance carefully across his arc. In Harrenhal, he plays Jaqen with theatrical flair.
Speak 3 names, and the man will do the rest.
The coin flips, the half-smiles, the riddles. But in the Oldtown prologue of A Feast for Crows, Martin writes the alchemist with none of that. The playful energy is gone, stripped away. What's left is operational stillness. The body language of a man on a mission so critical that personality itself becomes a liability. And here's what he's after. The Citadel holds the most dangerous library in the known world. Galandro's History of Valyria, missing exactly 27 scrolls. Septon Barth's work on dragon biology, ordered burned by Baelor the Blessed, a king who understood how dangerous it was. And locked in a vault beneath the building, an anonymous text called Blood and Fire, sometimes known by its other name, The Death of Dragons. The Faceless Men didn't send their most elite operative to read poetry. They sent him to recover the playbook. The specific ancient knowledge their predecessors used to identify, locate, and eliminate fire mages 4 centuries ago. Because if dragons are back, the containment protocol needs to be back too. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. In A Feast for Crows, Archmaester Marwyn says something remarkable to Samwell Tarly. He tells him that the Maesters are the ones who killed the last dragons, and that they'll do it again if they can. If that's true, then the Citadel and the Faceless Men share the same endgame. A world with no dragons, no fire magic, no sorcery. Jaqen isn't breaking into the Citadel. He may be renewing an alliance that's older than Westeros itself. And that brings us back to where it all started. A slave, in a mine, praying to die. Remember what Jaqen tells Arya at Harrenhal.
The Red God takes what is his, lovely girl, and only death may pay for life. You stole 3 deaths from the Red God. We have to give them back.
3 lives saved, 3 lives owed. That's not a favor. That's a cosmic ledger. And the Faceless Men have been balancing it since the red darkness of Valyria. They didn't begin as killers. They began as the only people in the world who thought a slave's suffering mattered enough to end. And from that single act of mercy, they built a philosophy, an institution, and eventually, a weapon capable of shattering the most powerful empire in history. Valar Morghulis. All men must die. It's not a threat. It's a promise. That no empire, no dragon, no sorcerer gets to hold death hostage forever. Not then, not now. And if Jaqen finds what he's looking for in that vault beneath the Citadel, not ever again. So here's my question for you. Did the Faceless Men destroy Valyria as an act of mercy or revenge? Because mercy ends suffering. Revenge creates it. And the Doom did both. Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear where you land on this. This is the part where most channels beg you to subscribe. I'm not going to do that. But if this video made you see the Faceless Men differently, not as assassins, not as a death cult, but as something more honest than both, then you already think like we do here. We're building an empire of people who don't just watch stories, they read them. And if you're still here, you're already one of us. You know what to do. See you in the next one. Until then, stay cult.